Hey, welcome to the podcast. My name is Eric Ortina. I'm your host. I have been a competitive long-range shooter for over a decade now, but I'm still in learning mode. That's the reason that I started this podcast, because I want to talk to people that I can pick their brains and learn something from. Now, why did I call it Believe the Target? Well, the target is really the only one that tells the truth. There's many ideas, many theories, many experts. However, the target ultimately decides who's right. Anyway, if you're not subscribed to this podcast, make sure you subscribe right now. Go give it a like, and let's get started. Jim Cline, how you doing, man?
Good, and you, Eric?
I'm doing well. So, to get things kicked off, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
My name's Jim Cline. I'm an IBS International Bench Rest Shooter, score shooter in the southeast from South Carolina, Murrells Inlet area near Myrtle Beach. And also run the TackDriver.
So you run the TackDriver match?
Yes, sir, I sure do. I'm the match director.
Now, did you come up with that, or how did that come about?
No, sir, I got on the International Bench Rest Shooters board in about 2017, and it was a topic of discussion with Jeff Pinehart and Harley Baker and several others. They brought up year after year after year about wanting to figure out what the most accurate cartridge in the nation was, and they were more concerned whether the PPC would outperform the 30 BR, or if there was something else, 6 BRA or something out there would outperform the other. I always told them that my thoughts were it was the Indian and not the arrow necessarily as much, and after about 3 or 4 years of listening to them talk about it, I said, okay, enough's enough, and I said, I'll run the match. And so I brought it to Orangeburg. This coming October 19th and 20th will be TackDriver 5. So 2024. So we did it in 2019 would have been the first year. So kind of my own concept I came up with, to not get a group shooter settled in and being able to shoot group only, and the score shooters kind of out of their realm. I decided the easiest thing to do was let's go with a simple format, and let's go 22 pounds to include the F-class shooters like yourself and several others, PRS, whatever, and try to get a diverse group of shooters from everywhere across the nation to come together. And then I decided to put a group target, then a score target, then a group target, then a score target. That way, at Orangeburg, there's no favorable bench positions or anything. So basically, you couldn't get in a comfort zone and shoot all group the first day and finish first, and then all of a sudden, get a good next day and get in your score groove and shoot good there. So you always had to be changing, thinking about the way you approach the targets, and it's worked really well.
What distance are you guys shooting these targets at?
300 meters. So we shoot a 200-yard IBS score target at 300 meters, and we shoot a 300-yard IBS group target at 300 meters. As you well are aware, it doesn't matter what size your group target is. It can be an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, or it can be a king-size bed sheet. It's got nothing to do with how big the target is or how small the target is. It's all about the group size, the size of your 5 shots in that particular group. And then also I wanted to kind of throw a little wrench into plans, and a half inch between the rings on a 200-yard target compared to the 3/4 inch or whatever it is at 300 yards. So that way they couldn't settle, okay, I was holding one ring on a score target. Now they have to really think about what they're doing for the group target as well. So it's kind of a concept that just keeps them on their toes.
Now, what are the most common cartridges that they're using?
PPC is number one by far. Most of the group shooters and many other shooters are shooting a PPC. 30 BR is probably second, and then some variation thereof. 6 BRA, BRAI, standard 6 BR. I've had a 284. I've had 300 short mags. I've had a bunch of different cartridges there over the years, but the predominant two, if I had to pick two, would be a PPC and a 30 BR.
Yeah, because the PPC is pretty much the king of the hill in group shooting, but the 30 BR is kind of the king of the hill in score shooting, isn't it?
Yes, sir, by far.
Yeah, so that makes sense that when you bring them together, they're the two most popular.
And then you bring the long range shooters in there. So the TackDriver has evolved to something that's overwhelming to me. I've crossed most of the bridges. I've got, groundhog shooters. I've got people that shoot egg shoots. I have long range shooters. I have short range group shooters. I have short range score shooters. I haven't been able to get to F class. I've called yourself and Mr. Whidden and several others, hey, come show us what you got. Come out here and bring your best. Would definitely love to see how y'all stack up. No question, I think y'all could do it. But the most common thing I get from the long-range shooters is they don't understand what those orange and green things in front of everybody mean or why they got to have to be there. So typical kind of a funny response from them.
What orange things are you talking about?
Wind flags. the wind flags in front of the bench. They made the comment, if I understood what those things meant and what they were telling me, I would be competitive.
Have you considered doing a longer, like a long range?
The problem with that, Eric, is we have. The problem with that is the PPC is going to run out of gas at 400 yards. The 30 BR is almost already out of gas.
That's the point.
I reckon so. So you want us to come to your wheelhouse, but you don't want to come to ours. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
A little bit. Well, I'm just saying, everything. My main gig is long range,
right?
And I'm sure my rifle will do fine at 300 meters. It's still not point blank, right?
Well, just know Bart won it with a 6 BRA.
Yeah.
So it's been won by Bart twice. Jeff Pinehart won the first one. Bart won 2 and 3, and then Wayne Campbell won 4. I would say that over time, you never know. I mean, you just never can tell. I mean, George Cabrera came in this year. Nobody'd really ever heard of him. I'd heard of him through some other mutual friends, but they said, watch out for him. He's a great wind reader. He's a great shooter. Well, he showed that. He's just a phenomenal shooter, and he had it after 8 targets of 10. He was in second place, so he was in striking distance, and in the last 2 ended up taking him down the line a little bit, but he was still in the top 10. Very, very, very good showing. So you get all these people coming from all across the country, from Montana to Maine, Canada, all coming to this event. And, I'm already full for TackDriver 5 with 120 currently as of today. That's all I'll take. And I have 7 on the waiting list.
Well, that's why we don't shoot it. There's no room.
Well, I promise you come on down there and we'll get Bart to step aside and give him your spot.
Only if I use all of his gear.
He might agree to that too. Be careful what you say.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a great format. Anytime you can mix things up, I think it just creates excitement. And of course, it kind of ends that discussion whether group shooters or score shooters are better, right? And then of course the cartridges that are being used. You got to mix it all up.
You do. And, I tell everybody, and if you ever come to one, which I really hope you would, I tell everybody that I fooled them. Y'all think y'all are coming to a shooting match. You're not. You're coming to a family reunion of shooters. And then a match will break out at some point, but it's all about good times. I don't think there's ever been a more diverse group of talented shooters assembled anywhere in the nation when you look at all the disciplines represented at the TackDriver. I mean, yes, there might be more talent maybe at the Southwest Nationals or the Super Shoot or one of those places or the World Championship. But you throw a score target in front of those people at the World Championship, they'd scratch their head, wouldn't know which way to go. And that's kind of what's happened with the group shooters. Wayne Campbell, I tease him all the time, even this year. You shoot 3/4 inch group, but can't get it in a 1 inch circle. So kind of hard to understand, and you understand what I mean there being a score shooter. It matters to be in the middle. And on a group it doesn't. You put it out in the 5 ring if that's where you form your group and that's what you want to do. So it's just a challenge. You keep somebody, instead of getting in a rhythm of doing the same thing over and over and over again, they come up there and, oh God, I just shot score, so I know what I'm doing now. Well, I'm sorry, you're back to group again. So it's and I got a couple surprises for them for next year too that I'm not going to announce, but they'll be a little surprised when they get there.
Johnny Ingram is a shooter that we shoot with, and he's I don't know, he had a pretty good target, but he had 5 9s, pretty tight together. So we asked him, said, Johnny, why didn't you move over? He goes, well, I didn't want to ruin my group size.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah, it's a whole different mindset. I shoot both, right? When I'm testing loads, I'm shooting group, and when I'm in competition, I'm shooting for score.
Right.
But I don't know, man. It seems, yeah, whatever. I hesitated there for a little bit, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It seems like group shooting is much easier because you don't have to worry about where they land, right? As long as you get them on the paper, just it, Whereas, score shooting, the infamous 9-1 on, where everything's rocking and rolling, and your first shot's a freaking 9, and now you're just fighting an uphill battle from there on. Where
and that's kind of what happened at TackDriver 4. I had an issue with somebody had shot a wrong target, so I normally don't go down the hill. I stay at the top of the hill scoring. So I came down the hill just to kind of figure out a problem, because I had a guy that wasn't there who had a target shot, and I didn't have 10 bullets on one target on either side. So I was like, well, we got a problem. Let me go figure out what it is. So I came down the hill, and Wayne Campbell knew he was in the top. He just didn't know where. So I came and figured out what the issue was. It was somebody had shot on the wrong relay. They admitted it. No big deal. So the penalty was applied. But as I was walking up the parking lot, Wayne Campbell stopped me, and he said, hey, man, he said, I shot 2 9s. He said, did that take me out? I said, Wayne, not too many people shooting a 9 in score shooting and move up. I said, so yes, it probably killed you. And at that point, I knew I had him hooked. And then, it was just me playing jokes with him the rest of the day, or the next couple of hours anyway. He was slinging things around and upset with himself, not mad at anybody else, but just a great individual and a lot of fun.
Yeah, again, and it's different, but yeah, maybe I need to try it one of these years.
I'd love to have you.
We kind of did the same in F class. We mixed it up and we started our own different format. And because in F class, it's an aggregate score, and we shoot for 3 days.
Right.
And it can be your first match ever. If you go to the nationals, you win, you're the national champion. Even if that's your first match, it's just very unlikely, I understand. But that's how it works, right?
Right.
Well, does that make you the best shooter, or does that make you the best shooter for those 3 days, right?
The best shooter for those days. I mean, it's happened in score, it's happened in group, it's happened all over the country, But
so what we decided to do is keep points. So every time you go to a match that has more than 5 ranked shooters and more than 85 shots, and it is a long-range match, you accumulate points.
Right.
And at the end of the season, we invite the top 32 in F Open, top 32 in FTR. And then we do a double elimination bracket. And for example, you're number 1, I'm 32, you and I go against each other. And it is not an aggregate score. It is you against me.
Right.
And we pair fire. So we alternate shots at 1,000 yards on the same target. That way you don't have any advantage whatsoever where, wherever you are on the range, or, relay luck where, oh man, when I was shooting, it was really windy, but then when you shot it went dead calm. None of that. We're alternating shots. And, if you beat me, I have 1 loss. I go to the 1 loss side. If I lose again, I'm out. So we have this, and it goes on for 3 days. And I tell you, man, it's exciting. The other thing we do is we televise it. We film it.
Right.
And man, it's again, the fact that it's not an aggregate score, right there and then who won, right? So it's instant. So I don't know. That's it mixed things up in the F class community, because it's a whole different format. It's a lot of fun, and not only is it a lot of fun to shoot, it's a lot of fun to watch. Right. So even if you're out, you can stick around. It's on electronic targets, so you don't have to have spotting scopes. You can just have a tablet,
right?
And you can be right there. The shooters are right there, and I don't know. That's a lot of fun.
That's cool. That's we do something similar in international bench press shooting. We have a shooter of the year, and basically you get your best 10 matches in score. So you travel across the nation if you want to, or you can stay in just your own little area or whatever. All matches max out at 25 shooters. So the most points you can get at a single score match with 25 shooters is 100. So if it's a 3 yardage match, you can get 125. That's 25 for the additional yardage. So with that being said, you take your best 10 in the nationals being double points, kind of similar to what you're doing, except it's not live elimination. It's basically you got a accumulation of scores for the year, and then you get to kind of figure out at the end of the year, where you stack up against the other people. And again, yes, it's against the other people that travel. So somebody only shoots in Maine or in South Carolina, you're not going to, necessarily see them as high up as somebody that travels to 2 or 3 or 4 states or 5 states or whatever. So a lot of fun with that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Now, tell me about score shooting.
Okay.
I mean, that's what we do in F class, but I know you guys do it totally different. Maybe not. I don't know. The 30 BR is such a favorite. Is that because it just cuts a bigger hole?
It is because it cuts a bigger hole, but it's an extremely accurate, easy to tune cartridge. Ronnie Long, gunsmith in Clarksville, South Carolina, kind of helped develop that cartridge. Randy Robinette, maybe Joe Intrican, Henry Rivers, that whole crowd, kind of shot it, learned it. But Ronnie's kind of Ronnie Long's brainchild. He spent a lot of time with Randy Robinette determining twist rates on barrels and so on and so forth. But predominantly, most of the score shooters in the nation are now shooting 30 BRs or some derivative thereof. So there's, Wayne France shoots a 30 WW, some 30 Dashers, some 30 BRAs, some 30, BRXs. So there is some variations of it, but week in, week out, you can pretty much guarantee a 30 BR itself is going to win the match.
Okay.
At 100 yards, we shoot. The target is 6 bullseyes, 5 count, 3 up the left side, 2 down the right side. The far bottom right is a cider bull. Now all of them are printed in red. There's 3 bullseyes in the bottom right. You cider. You can go back to it as often as you want, or you can not shoot it at all. Totally up to the shooter. 2 different options in the nation currently for IBS. You can have a 7-minute match, or you can have a 10-minute match. In the South, most people shoot 7-minute matches. In the Northeast, most people shoot 10-minute matches. Just gives you a little more time to kind of pick through the wind if you want to. But you have to shoot a 1/16 of an inch dot and hit it with some best edge scoring of the bullet. And to win a match, on average, if you shoot 20, you're going to probably be in 3rd, 4th, 5th place. It takes 22, 23, 24, or 25 pretty much to be a win at 100 yards. Perfect score and 25 X's. So you got to hit that dot 23 times roughly, to be in the running at the end of the weekend. Now, naturally, stronger wind weekends, you could have 250 and 17 or 18 win it if it's really, really nasty windy.
How big is the 10 ring?
Half inch.
Okay. So
half MOA.
Definitely, so definitely they're going to be clipping the 10 ring. That's a given. Like, you have to always hit it.
You have to hit it or you're out. That's correct.
Yeah.
But
that's my point.
Yeah, but if you drop a point at 100 yards, you will not win. There's there's not even no coming back. I have seen 249s and 248s win at 200, and there's very few 250 shot at 300. Probably 50 a year maybe, and that might be on the high side. Not a lot of ranges have 300 yards. And the creme de la creme for that would be a 750, which would be clean at 100, clean at 200, and clean at 300.
What size is the target at 300? Is it still half an inch?
No, sir. It goes to half MOA, so it'll be 1.5 inches.
Okay, inch and a half.
and 3/16, the dot's 3/16 of an inch.
Wow. Okay. So it's 25 shots.
Yes, sir.
Is it 5 different targets? You shoot 5 different times, or is it one time 25 times?
No, you have 5 targets, and you shoot each bullseye one time. If you did shoot it twice, you take your worst score. So if you shot a 10 on it and you got mad, or shot a 9 on it and got mad, went back and shot an X on it, you'd still have a 9.
So I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out. So the maximum score is 250?
Yes, sir, 250.
So you have to shoot it 25 times, right?
Right. You shoot 5 targets with
that's what I
5
was asking.
bullseyes on each. Correct.
So you shoot 5 different times, like
Yes,
5
sir.
different
5 different
targets.
times. Yes, sir.
Because in
5 different
F-class, we
targets.
shoot 20 shots at a time. You
Right.
guys do 5 shots at a time.
Yep. 5 shots for score. Yes, sir. Same thing as
yeah.
group. Group goes
Yeah,
up
yeah.
and shoots 5 shots in a target as well.
Yeah, so the point, I guess, is you have to shoot 25 shots throughout the day in different conditions, different times, different everything.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Thunderstorm comes up on your relay just like you.
Yeah.
You got to deal with it. If it's not an emergency, no ceasefire or a loose target, no ceasefire will be called. If wind or rain or whatever, as long as it's no unsafe condition, you got to roll with it.
You know that Johnny Ingram that I mentioned earlier, that he didn't want to ruin his group out in the 9 ring. His 300-yard, he has the 300-yard record at Bayou Rifle Club, and out of 60 shots, he hit 58 in the 1.285 X ring. That's pretty stout.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, he might do good in I do want to branch out and go shoot some of these, especially now that they upped the limit to 22 pounds, because now I can just take my regular, my F-class rifle. I don't have to do anything.
The TackDriver's been 22 pounds since day one.
That was smart.
That was me doing a little bit of homework, figuring out what it took to try to not exclude anybody. Imitation is the best flattery. There's a lot of matches in the nation that have followed the TackDriver, whether it be 600 and 1,000, whether it be 3,600 and 1,000, whether it be Jeremiah Keefe in Pennsylvania shooting the TackDriver Light, called and asked permission to use my name, and he's done real good there. So a lot of interest up there.
What's the light version?
He shoots 300 yards, and he just does a few targets. He doesn't do quite what I do, and I think his attendance is in the 40s or maybe.
Okay.
But it's rapidly catching on. I mean, it's people are really liking the concept, to where they have the opportunity to try something different. And I guess if you do the same thing over and over again, it gets boring. Even somebody like yourself that's won as much as you have, still want to go win. Don't misunderstand me, but it's almost like it's repetition to you, I would imagine, at this point.
Well, just something different is fun, right? Just changing it up. Now, how many days does this match go on for?
So the TackDriver, we start practice. In the previous years, we've started on Friday. So Friday morning at 8 a.m., I would open the range for practice, which would allow all 100 competitors. I cut it off at 100 last year. So all 100 competitors would come in, and they could practice, test, tune their load, make a final decision on their rifle. Because once you start this match, if you start with a 6 PPC and have a scope failure or whatever, you cannot change guns. The only thing you can change a gun on is catastrophic failure, deemed by myself.
Oh.
And at that point, you cannot change cartridges under any condition. So if you start this match with a 6 PPC, you have to finish with a PPC. You can't go to a BRA. You can't go to a 30. You have to start. Whatever you start with, you have to finish with.
Well, that's a good point, because I was just thinking, well, just bring a PPC and a 30 BR, and then shoot.
And a lot of people thought that.
Yeah. Oh,
Not gonna work.
Wow. Okay.
Not going to work.
Okay. Yeah. Now I see what's going on, like for real. Because now you can't take the best of each game and shoot it. No, you gotta pick one or the other. So
you got to pick one or the other, and that's what a lot of people do. So Orangeburg's a really tough range. It's really hard. The wind is 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock if, 12 o'clock being straight in front of you, 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and it switches pretty quick. So Orangeburg's a hard range, a lot of mirage. They took a lot of the topsoil off the top of the dirt to push up for the berm instead of scraping down. So now you got hard orange sand under the grass. In any kind of heat or anything, mirage is horrendous at Orangeburg. So at 200 yards, there's times you cannot see the rings on a target. So it gets that way with those people. And, if you look at the results or talk to the people, a lot of them will tell you, man, I can even see a single shot. So it gets windy down there. We've shot as high as 20, 25 mile an hour winds. And, very seldom do you get anything under 10. Pretty much Orangeburg's guaranteed for, 10 to 15, especially as the day goes on. Maybe you'll get your first target in the morning, maybe the last target in the afternoon, under what we would call mild conditions. But you can rest assured Orangeburg will rear its ugly head before the day's over with.
Now, in score shooting, do you guys preload, or is this very much like group shooting where you guys are loading throughout the day? As
I told you earlier, I shoot score across the nation. 90%, 95% of the score shooters come preloaded. 30 BR is pretty easy to tune, especially with the tuners on the end of the gun now. People that really know how to use them benefit from them greatly. You can shoot the same load here as you can in a place like Ashe County, North Carolina, where you got 1,500, 2,000 foot of elevation difference. So the tuner makes a big difference, but most all the people coming to the TackDriver, definitely most all the PPC shooters are loading at the match. So there'll be under the pavilion over there. People call it tent city. People call it, loading area, just because you got all the group shooters come in, 3-4 days early, set their little area up. They got their scales. And it's amazing how much that's changed. TackDriver 1, everybody was throwing charges. Every single person was throwing their charges. Now every single one of them's weighing their charges, to the hundredth of a grain. And you see them down there weighing their stuff. So it definitely you see the evolution of shooting for the trying to get the ultimate accuracy out of everything you can get. And I think that, the bullets are better, the barrels are better. Ken Clemens and his group up at Brooks make a phenomenal barrel, sponsored by them. Great people. And, the barrels just get better and better. The bullets get better and better. And people are being more precise, with loading, brushing necks, primer testing. If there's a test to be done, somebody out there's done it. To figure out what they can do to try to make their stuff better. And the people that work at it hard are normally the people you see at the top.
Yeah. I mean, I've often wondered, because yes, the people that test more, they usually win more. And I wonder, is it because they figured out something that helped them? Or is it because they were practicing without even thinking about it? They were pulling the trigger more often than the people that are not testing. You know what I mean? But either way, they're winning. And from my experience, it's a combination of both. You shoot more often, but at the same time, you're perfecting your shooting form as well as perfecting your equipment. And it's twofold, right? Because it's not an exponential. You don't practice and get a little better. You get a lot better.
And, those people in Montana, you want to talk about some people dedicated. Tom Mosel and that crowd up in Montana, I mean, he'll put his snowshoes on, go out 1,050 yards and just dig him a hole in the snow, put a target frame up, and come back and shoot. I mean, it's absolutely crazy, some of the pictures I get from him and that crowd. But he's always testing. And you talk about testing, he's playing with a 30 now, and he's got making his own bullets, starting pointing his own bullets up and everything. And, just yesterday I talked to him and he was, pointing up 25 more bullets to go shoot Sunday. And, so it's just one thing after another with him. He's always striving for that ultimate accuracy, that sub 1 inch group at 100 yards, or 1,000 yards, is a zero group at 100. So they're looking for that zero. And at some point they'll find it, I promise.
Yeah. Yeah, I had Tom on the show, and
right.
He talked a lot about testing.
It's crazy.
More
I mean,
testing.
it's crazy what he does. I mean, and he'll go out and shoot some of the smallest little groups you'll ever see, and 3-shot groups. He does a lot of testing with 3-shot groups. And I just started shooting a little bit of long range, 600 yards, and as a score shooter, we don't have to spend that extra hour in the reloading room that you do for long range on loading to the 100th of a grain. All that's close enough, dump it. And we don't have to clean the primer pockets every single time like everybody does, or at least I don't. The annealing, way into the 100th of a grain, brushing the necks until they get hot. I mean, they do a lot of things in seating a thousandth of an inch seating depth. I'm convinced it doesn't matter on a 30 BR. You can change it 3 thousandths, and I don't know that you'll see it on paper. You got to make pretty big steps with it, 4 or 5 thousandths, but not on the BRA. So I started to shoot it and send him some. He gave me some pointers, and Alex Wheeler as well. Both of them have been on your show, but both of them kind of pointed out to me on where to start and what to look for. So I'd go shoot, and I'd come back and I'd take pictures of what my groups were. And I mean, Tom just looked right at it and say, "Okay, Jim, I see what the problem is here. You need to go here with it." And I would do it, and I'd go back and shoot, and it would shoot a little old teeny knot down there. And it's just amazing that he's looked at so many groups like that and understands which I can do at short range, but at long range, they're not touching a lot of times. Some of them might be, or you got 2 here and 2 there and 1 over here. So with him, he kind of looks at the shape of the group and kind of understands kind of what's going on with it. Again, he spends tons and tons of time doing that.
Yeah, I had Jack Neary also on the show, and he discussed if the group does this, you fix it by doing that. If the group's doing this and that, and he just went through the whole deal, just rattled off all the fixes, for for the groups.
He's come to the TackDriver, and he did a tuning seminar. So he does the Vitavori Lapua tuning seminar all over the country. Really great at it. Gets a lot of people to come look at it, and has examples just like you're talking about. Pictures of a target. You're too hot. You're getting ready to go out the top, or you need to neck tension this, or proverbial weather report. So lots and lots and lots of years of practice and understanding what he's doing and helping people shoot. And that's what you're doing for, and that's what I'm doing as well. Try to help people become better, because in the end, we're all one big family. We're just a big shooting family.
Yeah, for sure. Now, this 30 BR, what bullet do you guys shoot out of that thing?
Most people shoot custom bullets. So I shoot my own personal bullets, 108 grain, 7 3/4 ogive flat base, made on J4 925 jackets. So I got a set of dies about 9 years ago, and my gunsmith said you can make a better bullet than you can buy. So I decided I'd start making bullets, and didn't know anything about it. Learning curve for me.
Your gunsmith has never met me.
He's a character. And
who's your gunsmith?
Ronnie Long in Clarksville, South Carolina.
But I don't know that I can make a better bullet than I can buy. It's
he would probably argue that point.
Well, Speedy, trust me, Speedy has numerous times told me, if you just do your own bullets, you jump ahead of the curve. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm doing okay with what everybody else is shooting. I don't want to add that another layer of ways for me to screw it up. For myself.
Well, but you'll get that self-satisfaction of going to win the Nationals with your own bullet, and you can say what you want, but that would definitely give you a little more satisfaction to know, hey, I had the labor of love from start to finish in this, rather than, you still got it from start to finish, but you got every component that you physically touched or had something to do with the construction of. Yeah,
no, I get all that, but it's every time I go down that rabbit hole, I don't own anything to point bullets, or not
Right.
to make my own bullets, but I've talked to Speedy many times, and
Right.
every time he starts talking about just everything I need, I go, man, never mind. Just
About $10,000. I got started. I got Stamali presses from Jeff Pinehart. I made a bunch of different bullets. I started with about 105 grain 30 caliber and went up to about 122 grains. I made a couple hundred of each, and then I would take them and I would color them, and I would go out and test them, and then I would come back and look and say, okay, red shot the best. Then I'd look at my notes at the house, and I'd say, okay, that was this grain. So ended up that the 108 grain bullet shot better than anything I made. So that's kind of how I settled on the 108 grain bullet, and I've been making them, and I think there's probably 40 records, IBS records, world records shot with that particular bullet.
with your
Tons
bullet.
of them. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Well, see, that's not too shabby.
No. It's national champions many times, shooter of the year many times. So it's a labor of love. I like to see other people win with them. I like to see people do good with them. And you got people shooting them from Texas to Maine and all over the country. So just a great feeling when you get to look at somebody who hadn't won in a while or had been in a little bit of a slump. They call and get some of your bullets and then send you an email back saying, man, here's a picture of the results. I've second place this week, man. Great. Yeah. And they blame it on the bullet. It's got nothing to do with the bullet. It's like I told you earlier in the show, and I still believe it. It's the Indian. It's not the arrow. You got to have a good bullet. Man. You got to have a good bullet. But
you got to have a good arrow.
Yeah, you do, but you could take a mediocre rifle and give it to Wayne Campbell, and he'd still be in the top of the TackDriver. You take a Wayne Campbell's rifle and give it to a mediocre shooter, he's not going to be in the top of the TackDriver. So it's one of those situations. You give your rifle to somebody that's not a great shooter, they're not going to win the Southwest Nationals. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but I have also not won it many times with my own rifle.
Right. Well,
I mean, it's just one of those things that a good rifle is critical, and that's why we're back to the people that test all the time, because they understand that. They understand the better your equipment is, the better chance you have. Because I say it's the feedback, especially in score shooting. Right? If you hit a liner, if you don't trust your rifle, and you hit a downwind liner, what are you gonna do? You're gonna move upwind. Right. But if it was I'm going to call that a flyer, and now you move upwind, and now it goes where you're holding. Now you just cost you a point, right?
Right.
So you have to have just absolute accurate feedback, and that's what a good rifle gets you. Right. And the reason it's very hard to shoot a clean target on a 1MOA target if you have a 1MOA rifle.
Right.
You're supposed to be able to do it, but when it goes that way, you pull it this way, you don't know what the group looks like until you're done.
Correct.
So when you're halfway through there, you're thinking you have a half MOA gun, and you're really shooting 1MOA. You pull it in, now it just blew it out the side.
Right.
So that's
Babe Ruth didn't hit a home run every time he went to bat. So that's what I always tell somebody. You can go to the best of the best, and no team wins the Super Bowl every year. No, nobody's national champion of anything every year. When you think you're the best, there's always somebody out there just a little bit better, or maybe just having a little bit better day than you are at that time.
Or they had better bullets.
Yeah, could be. Very well could be.
Yeah. So, because mainly you guys shoot 100 and 200 yards, or you guys go all the way to 300 on a regular bench rest for score match?
Most of our matches now, Eric, is turned into 100 and 200, and that way you get an aggregate. And then now, because of the attendance and the cost of traveling and components and everything else, that we're facing in the motels, for people to come stay, so on and so forth, people only want to travel to what they call the high points matches, which would be a 3 yardage. So now most of the higher attended events in IBS are 3 yardage matches. So the Maine Firecracker up in Maine, they've been doing it Memorial Weekend every year, and that's normally 40, 50 person, 30, 40, 50 person attendance. People travel all over the country to go shoot. It used to be one in Maryland called the Bud Pryor. A lot of people, they cut theirs off at 70 guns years ago. It never got to 70 when I was shooting in 2012, but at one point it was to that number. So, and you get some group shooters to come shoot that as well. So, to answer your question, most of the time it's 1 and 2, but your bigger events down here. So, again, I'm the match director at Orangeburg. We have 2 matches this year, 2024, that is, and both of them are 100, 200, 300 yards or 100, 200, 300 meters. And we do that because that's where you get the largest attendance.
I see. Do you use the same bullet all the way out to 300?
Yes, sir. Everything I shoot, same bullet, same powder charge, same everything on every gun. I got 7 of them. So hunter gun with a 6 power scope shoots the same powder, same everything as a 13.5 pound varmint for score gun.
Well, that makes it simple.
And you tune with the tuners. It works. You shoot a tuner enough, you understand what they do, what that warm-up target when you shoot down there, and you look at it and you see what that group is. You shoot a group on your sight or on your warm-up target, and you say, okay, I got vertical. So you come in. You shoot down there and you have a blob. I call it, 2 over 1 or Mickey Mouse ears. You go out a little bit on your tuner, and if you do that and know what the tuner does for you, then it works great.
Oh, trust me, I understand.
I bet you do.
A barrel tuner is a device that attaches to the end of the barrel that allows you to tune the barrel harmonics in order to shrink your groups as best as possible. There are multiple types. Here at Cortina Precision, we have what we call the next generation Easy Tuner Brake. This is a tuner and a muzzle brake combined. Now, if you're simply looking for a barrel tuner for your, let's say, rimfire rifle or even an air rifle, then the Easy Tuner V2 is probably going to be the best option for you. This tuner uses a spring to eliminate backlash and provide the most repeatable results. In order for you to attach it to your rifle, you can either have the barrel threaded by a gunsmith to attach the tuner directly, but that requires an inch 250 barrel, or you can use one of our adapters. These adapters come threaded in multiple different threads, half 20, half 28, 3/4 24. So you can attach this tuner to just about any barrel out there, including your rimfire or your air rifle. Visit shootsmallgroups.com, go to our store, and take a look around. Also, you can go on YouTube and search for Easy Tuner, and you'll see a lot of videos out there that show what our tuners can do for you. In South Africa, we actually encountered a situation where for the final match for the 8-man team, the World Championship, we didn't have enough really good rifles. I mean, we had good rifles, but we needed really good rifles, and we had a rifle that wasn't World Championship level, right?
Right.
And I said, well, I had both of my rifles. I had already given one to the team to shoot, but then my other one was really good. I had just won the South African Nationals with it, but I didn't have enough ammo. However, one of the team members had not made it down to South Africa, so we had all his ammo. So we grabbed his ammo during practice day, Todd Hendricks and I, and we reseated his bullets to my seating depth, and then we just used a tuner to tune it in the rest of the way, and we put it on the line, and we ended up winning the World Championship.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, but it's like, what would you do if you don't have a tuner? I guess you can play around with seating depth, and
right,
but you only have so much time, right?
Right.
But, I'm just glad it worked out. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
much.
me too.
But yeah, so you just keep it simple, right? And that's what I've started to do now. When I travel, I have 2 rifles, and one of them's a main rifle and the other one's a backup. I don't ever know which one's which. These are both good rifles. I bring the same load for both rifles, and then when I get there, I shoot them both, adjust the tuner, and then when I'm there, what I thought was the worst rifle at home oftentimes shoots better there than so that's why I say I don't ever know which one the backup is. I just bring 2 rifles, but I bring the same load, and when I get there I decide which one's better. But it's tuners have definitely made things easier in a sense of you don't have to load 2 different loads for 2 different rifles. Back in the day, you'd go to nationals, instead of you have to bring 350 rounds for each rifle.
Right.
Now I just bring 350 rounds and 2 rifles with tuners.
Right. Well, see, with me, I have a dedicated 100-yard gun. It's got a 42 power scope on it, Night Force 42, straight 42. And I use it strictly at 100 yards. You can shoot 2 and 3 with it. You just kind of handicap yourself if there's any mirage or anything out there because you can't turn the power back. But and then I have one I shoot at 200 and 300 yards. So I always normally switch guns just because I've tuned them that way. And normally I have one that's a little sharper than the other. But they're all good, just like you said. So I have one, if I go to 100 yards, it's going to shoot it, no question. And then the other gun will come out for the 200 and 300 yard portion. Because in score shooting, for us, the match is normally not won and lost at 100 yards. It's always won and lost at the longest distance. You could be a point down in a 1-2 aggregate and go to 300 and win by 2 points, because somebody dropped 3 or 4 points. So 300's tough.
Yeah, that's like our 800. When we shoot 800, 900, and 1,000, we always say you can win a match at 800, but you can lose it at 800.
You can.
Like, don't drop any points.
Right. Yeah.
And hardly anybody does. But if you drop them, you're like, you're already starting behind. Yeah,
and I don't like that feeling. I don't like that feeling. I have somebody having to do bad to come back to me. I'd much rather try to be in the front and not make a mistake and back up to them. If you understand what I'm saying. Oh
yeah, trust me, I understand. When 2022 in England, I dropped the point at 800, and I thought, well, it's fine. We still have a lot of shooting to go. It was on day 1, first target of the day, day 1. And I dropped my last shot. I dropped it, and I thought, well, it'll be fine. My windage wasn't good. I saw it die down, and it went upwind. It should have never went upwind, right? Right. Especially at 800 yards. But anyway, I thought, my windage is off. So the point is, I dropped the point, and I thought, well, it's no big deal. Shot for 2 days, I lost by 1 point.
That happens. It happens a lot in our game too. I've been to Georgia a couple times, Georgia Mountain Shooters Association, and they normally shoot at 200, 100, and then 300. 2 years in a row, I dropped the first shot at 200 yards both years. Ended up winning the match with a 749 and like 40 some X's. But just the first shot out of the gun 2 consecutive years, and the scores were identical. It wasn't the same bull, but just one was in September and one was in March. I was like, really, how unlucky can you get? So
yeah, that's 9-1 on. There's actually an F class. Actually, he even had a license plate made for himself for his truck because he did it so often. 9-1 on 9-1, and he finally shook that, and he's a really good shooter. He kind of once he got rid of the 9-1 on, he's he's on to greener pastures now. He's
there you go.
He's become a really good shooter. So how often in advance? I mean, you already filled up for next year for this match. How often? When do you open it up to for signups?
Okay, so what I always do for the TackDriver is when we shoot it, most of the time the sponsors have come to me and by that point said, yes, we're on for next year. Got some phenomenal sponsors. And they did it again this year. So what I did is I got home like that Monday and redid all the forms and everything. So I opened it up to anybody that attended the previous year's event. I give them 10 days, 7 to 10 days head start on everybody else in the nation. So in other words, if you attended TackDriver 4, you had a 7-day head start on anybody else in the nation to get into TackDriver 5. So I gave them a week head start and then opened it up. So this year we had to move it forward a little bit in the year because of the NBRSA Nationals in Phoenix this year, roughly about the same weekend I would be, and I would have lost 15 or so shooters. And they asked me, please don't do that, because they wanted to shoot. So made some concessions and moved some things around. So earlier the better. I've had 6 or 7 people, as I told you, call to be put on the waiting list, but it's $100 deposit to hold your spot, and I'll probably lose 6 or 7 out of that 120 that just can't make it, health reasons. I hope nobody has, or travel issues or whatever. But then I've got 6 or 7 people on the waiting list. So
how much is the match fee?
The match fee is $100 for the match fee, and then $30 for lunch. So there's a hot lunch both Saturday and Sunday, and then we have sponsored dinners all the night that none of the shooters pay for themselves, paid for by sponsors. So it's $130 basically to get in the match. That's bare minimum, and then we have some cash options, where you could get in. And that's where the majority of the prizes come from, is the cash option.
Explain that to me, please. Okay,
so cash options, there's 3 of them. There's a $30 cash option. Basically what it does is it awards back for first through 5th place in score, 1st through 5th place in group, 1st through 5th place in the grand aggregate. If you shoot the smallest score target on target 1 or group target on target 1, whichever one we start with, out of everybody, out of all 120 competitors, then that would have a prize, a cash prize coming back to you. Then there's a $50 one, and it pays 1st through 5th in the aggregate. So that would give you an opportunity to win that. And then we have a large one, which is a $100 winner take all. And that has a lot to do with, the people that think they could win it. So I tell everybody should be in the $30 one. The $50 one, if you think you can place in the top 5, you should be in it. And the last one is 100% what it says, $100 winner take all. If you think you can win this match, come down here and get in it.
Yeah. Well, that sounds fun. Well, how long? I'm honestly thinking about shooting it, but it's man, how do I get in? It sounds like if those 125 people get a head start, as popular as this match sounds.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put you on the list right now. No money required until you get in, but I'll put you on the list for number 8 on the waiting list. So you officially.
When is this match?
It is October 19th and 20th.
Okay. All right. I'm free that weekend.
Good. There you go. October 19th and 20th. And again, you bring whatever you want up to 22 pound. If you are going to shoot a muzzle brake, they are legal, but it has to be a radial brake only.
That's fine.
Prefer you not to have one, but if you have one.
Well, my
fine.
rifles don't have one, but I can put one on there.
You don't have to.
I probably won't have a brake just simply because I don't ever shoot with them.
Well, we'll call Bart out, and we'll tell Bart, seeing how that he's called you out, and now I have that he just got to bring you a gun. How about that?
Yeah, there you go. That's a heck of a good deal.
There you go. And I promise you,
where's this match at?
It's in Orangeburg, South Carolina.
South Carolina. All right.
Orangeburg. Yep. Fly into Columbia. You 25 minutes, 30 minutes from the range, or fly into Charleston, South Carolina. You're an hour and 15 minutes from the range. So. Yeah.
Oh man, it would be fun for multiple reasons. Number one, I'm not afraid to lose. Anybody that's been at this for a while, you should not be afraid to lose. I'm not even worried about that. But I think it'd be fun just simply trying something different. But man, just meeting a whole new branch of people. You know what I mean? Just a whole different.
That's what it's about.
Chapter of people that I've heard of, but I don't ever get to hang out with because they're just a whole nother, kind of like the reason I started shooting PRS. It was a whole nother group of people, because we end up being in a bubble after a while. I shoot F-class. All I had to do is see F-class shooters all the time.
Right. Well, I can tell you that again, I don't think you'll find a more diverse group of champions anywhere in the world, and I kind of boastfully say that. But there's minimum 10 Hall of Fame group shooters at this match. There's Hall of Fame score shooters at this match. There's if there was a IBS Hall of Fame for long range, Sam Hall, one of the best 600-yard shooters in the nation in his time, still is. It would be there. Seth Wooten, national champion. The national champion list just goes on and on and on. And when I say that, score shooters of the year, group shooters of the year, the best egg shooters and groundhog shooters from across the country. I mean, people put bounties on people's heads up in Pennsylvania if you win the groundhog shoot a bunch. So you go beat John Smith, and your Roy Hunter was one of them, had a bounty on him. If you go beat Roy Hunter, you're going to get this. And, Roy comes to our match and chokes. He can shoot good on about 4 or 5 targets, and then all of a sudden the pressure gets him and he just comes apart. But great guy, great individual. Not saying anything that he wouldn't agree with 100%, but the level of competition in this match is unsurpassed anywhere in the nation. There might be more great F-class shooters at an F-class match. I couldn't argue that at all. But you won't have, world
the
team
diversity
members
that you're talking about. Yeah, I get all that. It's and that's kind of part of the appeal to me, right? I would just get to meet all these other, like you said, champions, and I'm sure it's a heck of a good time. That's
it is. There's a lot of good food, a lot of good time, a lot of shooting. Fair amount of break between targets, probably an hour. So you shoot and it'd be an hour probably before you come back up again. So you got plenty of time to go visit with people that you've never seen before. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of people that's never met you that have seen your shows or heard your name or whatever, and would definitely love to put a name with a face or actually physically meet you. So, definitely, I know John Whidden, I think, also is a great F-class shooter. And he's right here in Georgia, pretty close by. I've called him a couple of times trying to get him to come.
What about how many rounds are required to shoot the entire match?
Okay, so it's 10 targets and there's 50 scorable shots. So however many you would want to shoot for practice, and however many sighters, unlimited sighters. So if you want to shoot, I would say 150. I would not come without 150 ready to go. 200 if you're going to shoot on Friday, and the ability to try something different. If you come with a BRA and you said, man, it's not going to be as windy as I thought, I think the PPC is going to shine. Or if you come with a 30 BR and it's shooting great at home, and all of a sudden you get here and it's shooting great, but it's going to be, I think the PPC is just out edges it a little bit. You have that option. So
it'll be a 7 PRCW if I come.
There you go.
That's the only thing I have.
There you go.
I only have one of. I only like to keep one, and that's it.
That's the only one's ever been here. Then if you bring it, you'll be the only one's ever been here with one.
There you go. I used to shoot a Shahane for many years, and then once I moved over to PRCW, that's it. I don't like having. It's too complicated for me to have more than one thing.
Right-handed or left-handed? You're right-handed?
Yep.
Well, if nobody else will bring you a gun, I'll bring you one. How about that? That way you don't even have to travel with a gun. I'll bring you one and bullets. All you got to do is sit down and shoot it. So now you really don't have an excuse.
Yeah. I was hoping to bring my long-range gun, and that way if I do really bad, I'll just tell people the bullets haven't went to sleep yet.
There you go. Well, that's you got to think of some excuses before you get here.
Oh, I tell people, if you ever shoot a shot that was your fault, a bad shot, then you're not a professional shooter.
Well, I can agree with that to a certain extent.
Yeah. Anyway, it's all fun, man. Well, again, you got my juices going. This is exciting.
Good.
I'd like to give that a try. Like I said, because I technically do both. Like I said, when I'm practicing tuning my guns, I'm shooting for group, and then when I go compete, I'm shooting for score. So having to do both would be kind of fun and very interesting for sure.
Would definitely love to have you. I think it would be a match to remember. It definitely would give you something to talk about. I think Bart sent you the article on it. Bart done a phenomenal article. Paul McMenamin on Accurate Shooters behind the match, as many other people are, and I think you would come and just really have a good time and really enjoy it.
I need to maybe I need to call up Bart, and he needs to come shoot an F-class match, and I go shoot that match.
Well, I don't be careful what you wish for. He might come out there and show you something.
I don't care. That's what I want. Right. That's what I would honestly. That's what I would like to see. That he comes out here and show me something, because that would be fun all the way around. I mean, Lester Bruno shoots with us sometimes over in Phoenix. Right. He shoots F-class. Mr. Hoppy, Robert. Right. So we get some crossover. Lou Murdica comes and shoots over there. So
Bart would be upset he couldn't set flags, so he'd be mad at you for not letting.
Oh, there's flags. There's flags.
No, he don't want range flags. He wants his flags.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Bart. You gotta
play by the rules.
Yeah, I have a saying for that, but it's probably not.
There you go.
Not fitted for this show.
There you go.
But anyway, yeah, good stuff, man. Well, man, thank you for being here. This has been a great discussion.
I appreciate it.
We may, if I do come and shoot this match, we might have to do this again and do a match recap.
Well, we can definitely do it. Love to have you. Really wish you could make it.
Sounds like fun. Anybody else that wants to come and shoot it? Obviously, it's full for this year, but where do they get more info about this match?
It's on Accurate Shooter. So TackDriver 5's on Accurate Shooter. We're in the process of building a website currently for this match. It's gotten huge. This year we've had a rifle currently in production now that we're going to sell tickets on and draw for at the match as a raffle to help build funds. Want to give back to the match, to the shooters, more so than anything. It's the only person that makes any money on the matches is the club, and they make a fair amount, but it's not near what you would think. Basically, most of it's returned to the shooters. Everybody gets a shirt just like I'm wearing. This is this year's shirt that's paid for 100% by the sponsors. And then we have, like I said, dinners every night paid for by the sponsors. But TackDriver 5 article on Accurate Shooter, you can find it now. TackDriver 4 live results had people watching it from all across the country. If you want to kind of see step by step how it went down. And then you also have those 2 articles from Bart on there as well, and I think Paul's got an article that's on the Daily Bulletin, and he's done 2 of those. So again, it should not be hard to find if you just search it.
Good stuff, man. Well, thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it, Eric, and if I can ever do anything to help you, yes, sir. Love to have you.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
likewise.
Sir.
Take care.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.